welcome to the special August meeting of the Town of Poughkeepsie Zoning Board of Appeals. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to our meeting, and we're having a special meeting because there was a mix-up on the notifications, and we needed an extra week to get that straightened out. So I apologize to those that may have been inconvenienced, and I hope the delay has not been troublesome. Okay, for those that are new to the proceedings of the ZBA, the meeting is divided into two parts. The first part, we hold public hearings on each of the applications before us. We'll take them in the order that they are listed on the agenda, and a copy of the agenda is available in that little black tray on our counsel's desk. For each of the public hearings, we'll ask the applicant to come forward, state their name for the record, and to be sworn in. All testimony before the ZBA has to be sworn testimony. At that point, we'll ask the applicant to give just a brief summary of what their application is about, and then each of the board members will have an opportunity to ask specific questions clarifying the application, asking for additional information that might be useful. When the board has finished its questions, the floor will then be open to anyone from the public that wishes to speak on that application, but on that application only. Again, each person that wishes to testify must be sworn in and can give us a statement, and the board will have an opportunity to ask questions, again, to further clarify the information. When we've finished each of the public hearings, we'll turn back to the top of the agenda for the deliberation phase of the meeting. During this part, there's no further public input, though you're certainly welcome to stay and to listen to the deliberations. Also, for the record, one of our regular members was not able to attend, so Phyllis will be a full voting member for the entire meeting. Okay, well, the first item is item number 4. Again, this was postponed from our regular meeting, and this is Robert Ryan, 16 Peckham Road.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself on this one.
Okay, very well. So that means there will be 6 members voting on this. Mr. Ryan, present?
Well, Mrs. Ryan.
Oh, okay, that's good. Okay, if you just want to have a seat there. Yep. And I remind everyone, you'll need to speak into the microphone. All of our meetings are tape recorded, so we need to be able to hear you. Okay, and your name, please?
My name is Bernadette Ryan.
Okay.
Ms. Ryan, do you swear or affirm the testimony provided tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so would you tell us what you're proposing?
Okay, we just wanted to fix our front porch. The steps is actually 20 years old and it's falling apart. And there was, I guess, the variance is what we're here for, because we wanted to just a little bit more, and just so that when we walk out the steps, we're not just walking out the steps and going straight down to the steps. We just wanted to add a little bit more, so if someone is coming in, somebody can open the door for that person.
Okay, and so as a result, this means that your porch now is 16 feet 3 inches from the property line, and the code says that it should be 20.
20, that's correct.
Okay. Christine, any questions?
No questions.
Art?
No questions.
Okay, and so there's an existing porch, there's existing steps, and you're going to put a landing in between, really?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Tony?
I have no questions.
Carmen?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No questions.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the application at 16 Peckham Road? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public
moved.
hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, one recusal. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 5, Anthony Cocello, 36 Carmen Drive. Okay, so state your name, please.
Anthony Cocello, 36 Carmen Drive.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony provided tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Anthony Cocello. I'm the owner and applicant for agenda item, is it number
5.
5? We are seeking a side yard variance as a result of a limited lot width. The home was constructed in 1954, and the zoning requirements have changed. The current lot width configuration consists of approximately 2 10-side yard setbacks, a 40-foot long house, and a 15-foot wide garage totaling 75 feet. The proposed project would simply convert the existing one-car garage into livable space, and a new 2-car garage would be constructed in front. The current zoning in the R20 district requires a minimum lot width of 100 feet. That's 2 20-side yard setbacks. When the Board of Appeals makes a determination on the variance, we need to balance the benefit to be realized by the applicant against the potential detriment to the health, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhood if the variance were to be granted. 5 factors to be considered. Number 1, no undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties because similar situations already exist. 2-car garages have been constructed with no issue. Number 2, there is no other method feasible for me to pursue other than a variance. Choosing another location for the proposed garage would require similar variances, if not more. Number 3, the requested variance is substantial, but similar variances for garages have been granted in the neighborhood, and the structure and configuration will not be out of place. Number 4, the proposed variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions. No additional noise, traffic, or dust. And number 5, the alleged difficulty is self-created in the sense that a variance is required. The lot is non-conforming based on the current R20 requirements. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate the board being able to fit me in August.
Okay. Before we begin, we've received several letters that I need to read into the record. So the first one, gentlemen, my brother and I are the owners of the above referenced property, that's 34 Carmen Drive, and our parents are life tenants of the same, who have lived there for over 40 years. We've been advised that the neighbors, 36 Carmen Drive, have filed a variance to encroach the 20-foot variance by 18 feet, leaving 2 feet on the side of our property in order to build a 2-car garage. We are strongly against the town approving this variance and ask that it be denied. Our property is in a rural community where the distance between properties is enjoyable. We do not live in a community like a city where properties are on top of each other, and we ask that this remain the same. We have been advised by a real estate broker, Louis Nicarato of Murphy Realty, that if this is allowed, not only will it bring the value of our real estate down and reduce our property, it will also cause other properties in our neighborhood a decrease in their property value, and we understand that the neighbors are also strongly against this variance being approved. In addition, I have spoken with my boss, who is an attorney, and she advised that we should submit this letter as well as appear at the town board meeting to be held on August 27th in order to stress to the town that we are strongly against this variance being granted. We thank you for your time in considering our concerns and ask that you deny this variance. And signed Nancy Macrojohn and Robert Bogle, as well as Robert Bien, Margaret Bird, Noel McCaffrey, William and Karen Bogle, and Deborah Lead, or something like that. Okay. Okay, the next letter. Dear Town of Poughkeepsie Zoning Board, this letter is in reference to an area variance submitted by Anthony Concello involving tax lot number, so on, at 36 Carmen Drive. We, Charles and Cindy Ann Harkins, are against the variance for this property. The variance is substantial at 18 feet. It alters the character of the neighborhood from rural to city, since property boundaries are closer. Other property owners would be able to use this variance for future requests. This alters the views of adjacent residential lots. This adversely affects the Bogles at 34 Carmen Drive. Their bedroom view will be blocked by the new two-car garage. Their property will be used for access to the backyard of the Concellos at 36 Carmen Drive. The Concellos at 36 Carmen Drive will not suffer any hardship if this variance is not approved and can use another method to achieve their dreams. Again, signed Charles and Cindy Ann Harkins. The third letter, to Town of Poughkeepsie Zoning Board. I, Jeffrey Coatson, along with my wife Valerie Coatson, are against the variance for the following reasons. One, the setback variance request is too close to the neighbor's property line. Two, granting a variance would set a precedent for future variance requests in the neighborhood. Three, the new construction would be too close to the neighbor's bedroom. Four, the new construction would change the look of the neighborhood. Five, as stated on the Town of Poughkeepsie's application for area variance, Section B, for area variance applications, standard number 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. This request for a variance was requested by the homeowner for personal reasons and not to alleviate hardship on his property. For this reason alone, the variance should be rejected by the board. Signed, Jeffrey and Valerie Coatson. And the fourth and final letter to dear members of the board concerning application by Anthony Concello, 36 Carmen Drive. We are strongly against the town approving this variance. We request that it be denied. Our area is a rural development, and this variance would strongly change the appearance of openness which we currently enjoy. In addition, this variance, if granted, would set a precedent for any future variance requests and become the bellwether for dramatic changes in the openness we appreciate and depreciation of the value of the properties within our community. We thank you for your consideration of our request. Signed, Michael and Joanne Franco. Okay. I guess before we turn it over to members of the board, is there any further comments you'd like to add to your statement?
I would like to submit at this point additional documents. Some are photographs of the neighborhood with two-car garages. Another is an aerial. I've highlighted 10 properties with similar situations, showing distances between garages and houses.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I can provide another sheet of that. I only have one of the photographs. The white area indicated on that plan shows where the proposed garage would be. Also, the distances between the house to the left, which is 34, and 38 to the right, which is the eastern side. The second page is just a continuation of Carmen.
Okay, so I just to
Sure.
be clear about this, so I gather your argument here is that what you're requesting is similar to things that already exist.
In addition to that, the lot width is 75 feet. When the house was constructed, if the lot was, I've tried to go back and look at what the zoning was at the time. I think the code changed in the 90s or 2000s. It wasn't on the E-code, so I couldn't tell what the old zoning was. If it was 10 feet at one point, I would have been asking for an 8-foot or 2-foot variance, but it would have only been 8 feet from my property line.
Okay, so I guess again, the argument is what, that you're grandfathered in?
As it stands right now, I'm a pre-existing non-conforming lot based on the survey.
Right. Okay, so I guess I would ask the council to clarify what the,
I think what the applicant's saying is that if he had applied for this variance under the old zoning, he would be asking for an 80% variance instead of what now is about a 95% variance because the setbacks have changed. But other than that, everything else remains the same.
Right. An alternative
okay.
to the other side of the house just doesn't work because it's a new driveway. It's a similar variance, and probably I would need to get a variance for the front yard. Looking at an alternative to the rear of the house, putting a garage doesn't make sense because the driveway would have to continue past the existing garage, and I don't know that with the area that the septic is and constructing a 20-foot garage, the cars would have enough turnaround without going over the septic area. So I'm putting proposing the garage where it makes sense.
Okay. I guess, I think there are a number of specific questions, so let's just get into those. Christine?
You want to take the existing garage, make that into part of your house, and then have the two-car garage in front of that, and then the one on the left would be feet from the line. I just want to make sure I'm
That's
on
correct.
that.
The existing footprint of the garage does not change. The property line as it is 150 feet long. The variant is for only the garage portion. We're not building a garage the length of the property.
That's it right now.
Do you know if and how much the garage will go in front of the house?
Good question. I have, for simplicity, if it's 4 feet, that would probably be the number, but dealing with the setback, I would not be looking for a variance to go more than what I could. I mean, if it's 4 or 5 feet, I don't have an exact number for that because I didn't plan on encroaching on that setback.
Okay. And do you know the distance from the neighbor to the left of your property, from that house to your property line?
So if we're looking at my house from the road,
Yes.
the distance from, could you say that one more time?
So that would be Marco John Bogle. Yes. Okay. Yeah, the distance from their house to the property line,
Right now.
if you know that.
I'm sorry?
If you know that.
Yeah, right now, from my garage, it's 9 feet.
No.
Okay.
How far is it from your property line to the neighbor's house?
Oh, okay. I would approximate
If you know.
23 feet, 23 and a half, I'm not sure.
Okay. And I don't recall how that house, how does that sit compared to the front of your house? Are they about in line?
They are.
Okay.
I think I have,
I think that's on that
well,
photograph.
looking
so-
at the aerial, yeah. The garage obviously is set back.
Right.
But the houses are very close to being in line.
Okay. And do you know how high the garage will be?
It would not, I do not have any architecturals at this time because I'm seeking a variance. So we would stay within the zoning code. I would not come back for a variance for that. It would probably be similar to what I have now. It's a very steep pitched roof, so I would say if it's 9 feet to the ceiling, it might be another 9 feet high. So we're 18 feet. Architecturally, I want it to look like it grew there. I'd just like to point out on some of the additional comments, we have septics, and you have to be mindful of that. So in order to get to my septic, I have the side of the yard which I've already utilized to have it pumped. That's the neighbor to my left, Mark-John Bogle, his septic is on the garage side, but in back of his house. So you can't really construct in an area that you have your septic.
Okay, that's all I have.
Art?
Why couldn't you build your additional living space on the back of the house and leave the garage where it is, leave it alone?
Right, that's what I was trying to discuss. In order to do that, it would appear, looking at the aerial, there is a tree in the back that's red. I don't know if you can look at the aerial, I would be able to describe it to you a little better.
It's that way.
But the garage is going to almost impede on the septic, which basically runs along the rear of my property line.
What, the garage already exists?
I'm sorry?
You're talking about the garage that exists now?
No, you're saying why can't I put a garage in the
No, I'm saying
rear?
why can't you build living space in the back next to that concrete patio, leave the existing garage as is?
Well, I'm seeking to build a two-car garage.
You could build forward on the garages there. And not have to impede on the property line, correct?
Well, he'd still need a variance if he did that, so.
Only if he came in front of the house, if you violated the,
No, he would still need, if he comes forward, he still needs a variance here.
yeah, but not a side yard variance.
Yeah, no, he needs a side yard variance if he comes forward to the garage.
The existing garage is 9.6,
Okay,
the
so the
side
other one's
yard.
stay about the same distance if you do
Right.
that line. Okay, so
Right, he'd
we're not
need
talking
a,
about a major variance, we're talking
he would need a variance from 20 feet
stay
to
in line.
9.6.
Stay in line where he is, but he.
Correct,
Neighbor's line by 10 feet roughly,
right.
which is where that's where I'm going with that, essentially. If you brought that second garage forward on the one you have, made it long instead of wide, and move your constructions at the back of the house, why would that not work?
Well, it becomes feasibility. In order to do that, now I'm not utilizing a foundation that I'm able to build on.
There's no foundation there. There's no foundation
the
for that new
garage,
not for that new
There's a
two-car
footing
garage.
there. I've dug out and I have a picture of it. It's 42 inches with a footing.
You're
So-
saying there's an existing footing for that entire two-car garage?
No, for an existing, it's a single-car garage right now.
I think we're talking in circles here. The new garage that you want to build in front of the existing garage.
Yes,
I'm saying the existing garage, yes, it has a footing, you're correct. Bring that garage forward with another bay, don't go wide, why couldn't you do that?
So you're talking have two cars, one in front of
Hell
each
knows.
other? I just haven't seen that in the neighborhood. It didn't,
Doesn't mean it can't be done. It wouldn't impede on the property line any more than you are now. Correct?
well, it's about being able to access two cars.
You can still, you gotta back one out to get the other one out. I mean, it's no different than you are right now. You've got one in the driveway, right?
Well, I have one side by side, so the whole point is to create a garage. If you're talking about adding on to the back of the house, there's cost incurred with adding a new foundation with that.
It's cost incurred adding new foundation for garage.
I realize that, but it's a slab on grade. It's not this similar situation.
All right,
Uh,
that's all I have for now.
Okay, Tony?
What's the primary purpose of this
Well, one is
project? What's your primary purpose? More living space or more garage space?
additional living space and garage space.
I'm just asking because I don't know if some of these thoughts have been pursued, but, you know, it seems to me that if you had, instead of coming forward with a two-car garage, if you were here looking to widen the existing two-car garage.
There's no,
Well, let me finish. With the same variance request, that might be less offensive to the neighbors because you're not coming forward. And, you know, from that aerial view, it looks like that garage would be pretty well behind what some of the items that were mentioned in these letters. And then I understand, you know, will be more expense to go across the back to increase the living space, but, you know, it is what it is. So I'm just wondering why that alternative wasn't pursued and possibly discussed, you know, to say, hey, you know, what do you think about this? You know, this kind of solution to the problem as opposed to bringing it forward. Because the first thing that strikes me about the plan is the fact that the garage extends past the front of the house.
that's not uncommon with the photos that I've shown you, as well as looking at the aerials.
Just because I don't know when the other situations have been done, but that doesn't mean they should continue to be done.
Right, but if
And I
we're
think that's some of the things that your neighbors are bringing out in their letters. So did you pursue or did you investigate the opportunity to widen the existing garage and see if that would have the same effect on your neighbors? And I understand that going across the back might be more expensive, but it might be a much better neighborhood situation for everybody. There's always options.
Right. When we talk about the two-car garage, right now there's a single-car garage.
Right.
The two-car garage going in front of the house would only require construction of the two bays and a sidewall along the property line, and then coming back into the existing garage.
I understand. I'm talking about instead of the,
Right.
again, please, instead of the one in front, if you only extended the existing garage, looking at it to the left towards the Bogles property, you might end up with the same request of a 2-foot variance. However, it seems that it would be a lot less obtrusive on your neighbors by being in back of the house and in back of what seems to be a bedroom line of sight and such, and then for your existing living space, go across the back of your existing house.
Right.
I'm not saying that's a less expensive alternative, but maybe that's a better neighborly alternative.
I understand what you're saying now. And part of having two-car garage is to create, the reason it ends up going to the front of the house is because we don't have a breezeway like some of the houses have, or a two-car garage. The entry point would lead from the garage into a mudroom, to the family room, and then you can get into the house. So by constructing the two-car garage, we didn't achieve the room for the family space that we were looking for.
You would just have to put it elsewhere on the property if you were to achieve that same result. Yeah, I have 2 cars, and when I have somebody visiting, I have 3 cars or more, and I only have a 1-car garage, which quite frankly, I have filled with lawn mowers and stuff.
Right.
So both of my cars are out in the weather all the time. My snow blower gets more coverage than my car does. So, it's part of living where we live sometimes in the situations that we have.
I understand. I've presented information that shows that this does exist. The board is,
Those are my only thoughts.
Carmen?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, what is what type of room do you want? No matter where it goes, if it's in the front or in the back, or wherever, is that going to be a family room?
exactly. The idea, I'll repeat myself, but I just be a little bit clear. The garage would have an access to the middle space, which right now is part of the garage and driveway. That would become laundry room, mud room, and then behind that would be the family room. That family room would connect to the back of the house where there would be a pass-through at that point. Right now, the garage is offset and we don't have access to the garage from the inside of the house. So,
Where is the septic system there?
sure. It's actually on the side of, it would be on the east, which is number 38. It's in the rear of the house. Basically, you're 10 foot off of the back of the house is a septic tank. It goes to a distribution field, which is at the garden. I'm not sure if you saw that. And the fields run east-west to about the playground area. And the expansion area is in the Hemlock line. In order to add bedrooms and stuff like that in this neighborhood, it's a pretty extensive process, and you need to have septic work done. You can't just go and add a bedroom without going to the health department, that sort of thing. So we're not looking to increase anything that way.
Okay, just so I'm clear.
Right.
You're not adding.
Not
bedrooms.
adding, no, I'm just
You're-
making the point that the septic is the 3-bedroom that it is, and that's
Okay,
that. You
okay.
don't,
So the proposed addition is the family room?
is a family
Okay,
room, yes.
Fine, okay.
There's,
Right. Anything else, Carmen?
Well, I understand why you would want the 2-car garage. I understand that. However, that's extremely close to the neighbors, extremely close. And if you could achieve the same thing, have a 2-car garage and think about having the room in the back, I think that would be much better.
well, if the 2-car garage needs to be in tandem, I guess, is that what we want to call it? Front, 2 cars in front of each other, we're still constructing a garage that requires a variance. When I purchased my house in 2003, the deciding factor wasn't how close number 38 is to my bedroom. There's better things in the neighborhood that exist. There's parks, there's the schools. It didn't come up as though my property value was going to go down. On the contrary, they've only gone up and the taxes have gone up. So I don't think that building a 2-car garage is going to lower anyone's value of their house.
And frankly, that's your opinion too. And we have received opinions
Exactly.
from the neighbors, so it's pretty subjective. And I think for the good of the neighborhood and not to set a precedent or anything, I think considering the room and the extra room in the back of the house, wherever, is probably a better solution. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Phyllis?
The aerial shot is, I think, going to be helpful to me, so thank you. The distance that you notice, this 18.5, that's the distance between 38's garage and your house?
That's an approximate, but yes.
Okay. So if we go to the other side, you've got 23.5. So is that the distance between what you anticipate is your garage and their house?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What size garage are you building? What is the standard two-car garage size?
Standard is 24, 22, 20.
24.
24.
Why?
Right.
22.
Same thing, 22, or I guess a 20.
Okay. What size do you want?
In the application, I think I showed dimensions that from the chimney to the interior wall. If there's,
And what are those dimensions, please?
did I give anyone in my application? I'm sorry, I apologize.
It goes from almost 21 to just a little over 22
Right, and the box that you see, that's,
because of the chimney.
exactly.
So it's 22.2 inches roughly, 22 feet 2 inches roughly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm not looking for a
But that's to
significant.
the inner wall, and you got another 4-5 inches because of your studs and your build out.
And in considering this, if there's a practice that allows for 2x4 construction with a metal stud or something, I will consider that to
It's the
make.
same width though, it's still 2.4 with a out.
Right, I just don't know what the building code would be for,
No, that's not up to us to decide.
So you're asking for a 22.
Internal.
it's,
I'm trying to understand this. Could you go with a 20? Would your cars?
the only thing that's dictating the width at this point would be the chimney to the interior wall, and
Can't move that.
I cannot move the chimney.
Okay.
And where the door, I don't necessarily need room to open that door, but I would like to at least be able to have the ability to pass through or, not have it so tight. Part of the problem with our existing garage now is it's a 7 or 8 foot wide door, and that is very tight getting the car in and out. It just goes in straight straight in, straight out. If it's a possibility, I have looked at considering doing one garage door. They become costly as well. They can double in price. One 9-foot door is maybe $1,000. When you go up to a 18 or 16, that cost jumps up. To answer your question about the garage width, if we look at it, 2 9-foot doors, as narrow as I can go between them, and then a side wall just to be able to open up the doors, that's what I'm looking for. The 24-inch variant is, I haven't spoke to an architect because I want this to go through, but I'm seeking the minimal that I can, based on the chimney. As far as pulling the garage forward, I'm not encroaching on a front yard setback, and I don't plan on pulling it, any further than I have to. 4 feet is probably would do it.
Okay. Phyllis, anything?
No, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a couple of just specific questions. In the drawing of the proposed two-car garage,
Yes.
there's a kind of a square area behind the garage and to the side of the existing garage.
Right.
What is that?
I put in storage. If I can't get that, I can remove that. But I was,
Oh, okay, so there'd be some sort of door into that area?
yeah, it would face the backyard, the
Okay,
door.
Okay, all right. I just didn't understand what that was. Okay, kind of speaking for myself but also, kind of bearing in mind the questions that have come up. I think the one fact is that what you're proposing is an awfully big garage. The old saying goes, you're trying to put, 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound sack. And I also have a problem with a structure this large, which will be essentially a wall, that sits so close to the property line. I was out. I looked at your neighbor to the right. There's a double garage, but there's enough space there so that there's a berm that's been actually very nicely landscaped. And is, I think, quite attractive. So whoever did that, way to go. With only 2 feet, it's almost impossible to put in anything that is going to soften or buffer or screen this new construction. And that's the problem I have with the 2 feet. I also have heard a number of different alternatives, and as you know, what we have to weigh is the benefit that you're looking for, against the impact that it has on the neighborhood. And so it strikes me that there are some alternatives here. Some of which you've thought some about, and others are you don't have a lot of detail to give us at this point. So I don't know. I'm wondering, is this a case where we should adjourn this and give you an opportunity to pursue alternatives? One of those would be to convert the existing garage to the space, and then build, for example, just a one-car garage in the front. That would be narrower than the existing footprint. I can tell you that this board fairly routinely approves additions as long as they don't get closer to the property line than the existing structure. So in this case, that would be possible. So I don't know. How do you feel about it? Is this something where you can go and sharpen your pencil and look at some of these alternatives?
I mean, at this point, adjourning, to come up with reasons why that doesn't work is, I've already tried to lay that out for everyone. To add on to the back of the house, it's a completely different animal. The way the house is set right now and the construction of it, I did consider, that was our first attempt to do that. But to put the two-car garage on and go 2 cars in front of each other, we had not considered that, and we being myself and my wife.
Okay. We're pretty close, I think, to the case where you may have to choose between converting the existing garage into living space and giving up a double garage, or creating a double garage where the cars are end to end, and then not using the existing garage as living space. It's sounding, just from the discussion here, that both of those might not be possible.
So if I'm understanding everybody here, is it the solid structure is the part that is burdensome to everyone? That wall that's going to be 2 feet away. I don't know what the definition of the carport is, but at that point, is it possible that, keeping in mind that the major part of what we want is the garage to be converted to family space on the bottom floor.
Understood.
Okay. If we are to create the garage 1 bay, bringing it forward, trying to keep it as far back as I can. I know I'm not going to be able to stay within the front of the footprint, just based on creating the mud room, the laundry room, that sort of thing. And it's not that we're trying to be greedy, it's just trying to get stuff out of the basement onto the first floor. We intend to live there for a while as well. My thought is, if the garage were to have a roof similar to, say, like a reverse gable or something, with a single car garage, and then a space underneath that we would be able to see clearly through to the backyard, and I'm able to park underneath it. That's kind of a thought. The idea of it being covered is more important to me at that point.
Okay, I'm
just trying to keep
there's
the ball
another
rolling.
alternative as well, the idea of a carport.
But I don't know, is a carport separate structure? I don't want to use the wrong word.
I think if it's attached to the house, it's still considered a structure. That's something that you would have to take up with the zoning department. But I'm pretty sure that if you were just going to extend the roof of the garage forward, it would still, because it's covered, it would still be deemed a structure and would still, same setback, same variances, et cetera.
Right, and
It might be more aesthetically pleasing to the neighbors or might not, depending on whether they want to see your car or hear your car. But
the car parks there now. That's not going to change. It's just a matter of, like you said, at this point, if I were to move the garage forward, I would still look to get a double wide driveway, because at some point we're going to have 4 cars. We have 2 kids. We're going to be parking somewhere. Right now it's bikes in the yard. Soon it'll be a car. If we can move the garage up like it was discussed, and be able to at least cover the car with, part of the structure. I don't want it to be separated where it's like a tent over the car. I don't think that helps the neighborhood out at all. The idea behind the garage was that you wouldn't have to see the car and the stuff would be inside. I haven't looked to, it was put the shed wherever. I don't need 2 sheds. I could just put everything in the garage. Unfortunately, that's the lot that I have.
Right.
So if, I don't know, as far as going back to the zoning administrator, how we could do this. I would look for you guys to give me that advice.
Okay. People have any suggestions here?
Well, procedurally, if we voted tonight and it was denied, he can come back.
Is it 18 months?
Well, it would be a different application, right? If he was making an application for a one-car garage, that would be a different application. He wouldn't be time barred. I mean, wouldn't have to wait the 18 months, would he?
I'd have to look at what the code says. I'm not sure if it's an application for a garage or how specifically it details what the bar is that starts the 18 months. Do you know?
Isn't it 18 months if it's coming back for the same application?
For the same exact applicant. I mean, alternatively, that also would require the applicant to submit, pay a second application fee and all that. It may be in the applicant's interest if it appears that he's facing a denial to simply ask for an adjournment rather than having to resubmit and then come back with revised plans, but that's entirely.
I would agree. I would like to get more clarification on at least this carport idea before we go through this thing again.
Okay. Okay, and I think you might also want to just weigh how important it is to have a double garage. Can you live with a single car garage? Maybe it's just a matter of widening the existing parking area a little bit.
You have to be careful with that, though, because the driveway I think it's a maximum of 15 feet wide, and you can't have a driveway any wider than that unless it leads to a garage in the back of the same. So I think you'd be limited to a 15-foot wide driveway regardless.
Yeah, okay.
Well, again, the situation in my neighborhood next door to me as well. This is, coming here to ask for this is the right thing to do. When you don't do it correctly and you're able to get through it is very tough to have to be here and show you guys evidence of what's going on. It's very simple to say, well, just do this. I've looked at alternatives. So put a garage in the rear of the yard, to spell it out again, we have a septic area. There's no place to turn around. The alternative with the carport, as I'm trying to describe it, is to have a roof over it so that we don't get into a situation where I can only have a 15-foot wide driveway.
Okay.
I mean,
well, again,
is that another variant? I just want to have everything laid out. I mean, how would we proceed with that?
We're not in a position to know. Ultimately, the building department, you should run it by the building department and see what's allowed. In terms of carports, I know there are places with carports. We've had some, applications that had to do, and I remember one had to do with the size of the carport. So that's a possibility. And again, you may just want to think about, whether or not you have a garage, a narrower garage that's longer, and then we'll worry about what happens at the front of the house, or maybe just building a new single-car garage.
I'm in favor of the single-car garage. I would just like to at least have it covered at that point and be able to have the two, the driveway is wide. That's why we're kind of in a little bit of a circle here.
Right.
And
but I don't think we're going. We're not going to be able to get out of it unless we get some more information about what kind of a carport are we talking about? Is it an attached or not?
Right. Well,
there are different options, and I think it's at this stage we just need some more information. So my suggestion here would be that, you know, you agree that we adjourn it. And that gives you some time to do a little more research.
Well, the problem that I'm having right now is that we're looking to find a medium, and my application isn't what everybody wants. But yet, I need to find a way to please people that I don't know what they're gonna want. And to do this again, how do we find out if no one wants to talk about it and we get a letter? I would just like to have some open dialogue at this point to get feedback and see if that open structure, because what I heard in that letter was the solid wall was the issue, and we can take away the solid wall. But the single-car garage would be moved up to, you know, still accommodate some form of mudroom and family room.
So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to visualize this while you're talking. So, the second half of the garage, right, the two, you would just turn that into a carport with the whole thing moved up to accommodate the mudroom?
It's the original plan in our minds were to utilize both sides of the garage. At this point, I would be losing one side to put a carport, pulling the garage up. And yeah, at that point, I would need to adjourn to look and see. I mean, we're drawing this up ourselves to see how we could work this out. You know, at this point, I can't go to an architect and spend money on something that, you know, I don't know. We're looking to find answers, and what I come up with might not be what everybody wants anyway. So.
Is there somebody at the zoning that can?
I think one of the issues, and something that might give the applicant clarity, is whether the board would be amenable. What I heard Jim say earlier was that the board has routinely granted variances where things stay in line with the building. So if you were proposing just your single-car garage, it seems as if the board would be amenable as long as you didn't go any closer than the existing garage. What you might be able to get some feedback from the board sitting here is whether they would be amenable to granting you a variance to allow the carport to be located 2 feet off the property line. And I don't know if the board's in a position where you want to make that determination now or not, were the applicant to come back with that application. And I think what the applicant is also asking for is to see if any of the proposed alternatives would lessen the community opposition to that. And for that, we may want to listen to what some of the people in the audience have to say on that topic.
Yeah, we will. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
For
So
articulating that.
So I think then let's open this to public comment, and at the end of that, the hearing will still be open. So if there are further questions we have of the applicant, we can certainly do that. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the application at 36 Carmen Drive?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, and the board, I'm Nancy Marcaton, and I'm one of the owners of the property that my parents live in at 34 Carmen Drive.
At 34, okay.
The biggest,
Just hang on.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, I just want to state that with him doing this 2-car garage and encroaching over with the 2 feet, there is a spare bedroom and a bedroom that it will highly impact because it'll be right on top of it, basically. And if they needed to get emergency vehicles to the back or a septic to do anything to the septic or anything to the back, they're going to have to then come on to our property. And I'm not even sure there's enough room on the property to get a vehicle around there with this 2-foot garage, or, the 2-car garage. I live in a country area. I grew up in that house. It's always been nice country, nice property in between. And I have spoken not only to Mr. Nacarado, but I've spoken to 2 other real estate brokers because I do work for a lawyer and I do a lot of real estate work. And I have been told that it will definitely drop the value of the property, not only our property, but also the properties in the neighborhood, which is an environmental impact for our neighbors as well. And it would, start a precedence of other neighbors thinking, okay, if you want to live in the city, go live in the city. This is a country area. And if you're going to move to the country, then and I'm worried with the carport too, though, like you were saying, if the carport went to the side and it still only gave that 2 feet, we're still going to have that issue if any kind of vehicle had to get to the back of his house or anything to do any kind of work. So those are my objections to it.
Okay. Any questions for any board members?
I do have a question. Do you know the distance from the side of the house to your property line?
I believe it is it's like 22, 23 feet.
Okay, thank you.
And if it remained a one-car garage but came forward, you wouldn't feel that would impact your property?
No, I have no objections to that. And where my house, as it is, my house in Marlboro, I have a 2-car garage, but we park front to back. And if we have to move our car out to get the other car out, we do that. I mean, and nothing against Anthony or anything, but it sounds like it's more of a financial issue for him, that he doesn't want to build something behind his house and to do this because it's going to be more financially impacted on him. But if it's something that he wants done, he's got to take that into consideration as well.
Okay, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address this application? Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
Free for all.
How you doing? Robert Bogle?
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
I just wanted, I understand that they want the 2-car garage. I think there's other alternatives to doing this. And I think if Tony, if we talked, maybe we could try to figure something else out. The 1-car garage with the back-to-back is definitely a way to go. I'm not sure about the carport. I think we'd have to look into that and see exactly what that would do to the neighbors, how they would all feel about it, along with, my parents who actually live there. And the fact of the matter is that we may wind up selling that house at some point in time, and what's that going to do, even with the carport? It is a possibility, but we would really want to look into that as well. So.
You're 34 also, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Bogle? All right, if not, thank you. Okay, yes, sir.
My name is Bill Bogle. I have been living in that house for over 44 years.
Just a second, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, I do, sir.
Thank you.
Anything he builds that comes 2 feet from my property is, to me, encroaching on my privacy. There are codes made for a reason, to protect the homeowner, and to allow this to be built just 2 feet from my property. It just seemed to be a shame to me. I like the way it looks now. I like our neighborhood. And I just don't want it. That's what it is. My wife and I, we turned our house over to our children, and we're living there until we pass. And I really don't want to see any changes made that will interrupt the beauty of my property and his property or anybody else's. It just seems to be too close to my land. And if anyone wants to get around this garage or carport, they will be walking on my property. I mean, I don't mind if they do, don't get me wrong, but I mean, to what extent? To what extent will they have to get around their house to get to the backyard? The kids have bikes, they play, fine. Sometimes they're in the yard, that's fine. But how often would that be once that garage is 2 feet from my property? That's all.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Mr. Cocello, okay, yeah. So I think the question is now, how do we proceed?
I would look to you guys to at least, there's a board up there. I'm one person. I don't have all the ideas at this point.
So you'd like to request an adjournment?
That's definitely something I need to do.
Okay.
But again, I was looking now for feedback on the carport, and as you heard in the testimony, the distance between the property and line and their house is over 20 feet. The side that I use to access my septic is on 38. It's a brand new plastic high HDPE H20 loaded tank. The septic fields have been updated. They, like I said, in order to get back to that septic tank, there's 10 feet plus or minus, mostly minus actually, on 38 side. I have the ability to access that. As far as safety vehicles getting to the backyard, I can't address that. I don't know what would happen. The fire trucks, they have ladder trucks now that basically go up to put out the fires. Other than that, as the kids were mentioned, my thought is if the roof could cover the car, I would be happy. The openness of the carport would allow for the continuation of the kids and other people to pass by as we've done in the past. The only difference would be the roof and the limited post required to hold up that roof on the two corners. And it would, butt up against the existing garage or the proposed garage. That's, I'm just trying to get feedback from them to address that issue.
Yeah. Well, I think
this is the forum for it at this point.
I think or certainly what I've heard pretty clearly is that the main issue is essentially having, a structure that's 2 feet from the lot line. That seems to be the nub of it. There are some aesthetic issues. There's some practical issues. But there's certainly, I think at this stage.
I'd also like to add, and as I kind of think this out, to bounce this off of you, if there's, with that 2 feet and leaving that back portion to pass through, there's an opportunity at that point to landscape possibly the divider underneath the roof, to create some screening that way. It wouldn't be the siding, but, that aside, when I moved into my house, 38 has exactly what they would be looking at, but it would be 5 feet more than what I have on that side. And the property value didn't come up. Houses, when I purchased them, were, the price that they were.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing about real estate agents, though.
What I would suggest you do, we'll adjourn this tonight. you need to do a little research about carports. The other thing that you might consider is, we seem to have reached the point where the main benefit you're trying to achieve is to convert the existing garage into living space. Okay, we'll take that as given, fixed. The question now is, what can you do in terms of garage? And I think the one thing that comes out as the most practical, at least to me, is to build a single-car garage in front of the existing one.
Yes.
That is going to be, actually, it's going to be further away from the property line than the existing garage is, because it's going to be narrow. It's going to be just one car. And then beside that, have a parking pad. Then there would, and, okay, the car is going to be outside, okay? But that's the trade-off that we have to make in order to get the living space.
I agree.
And then I think you'll still have room, because you're not going to be any closer to the property line than the existing garage. Then you have room to do some kind of screening along there that will, I think may not be as extensive as on the other side, but it will be attractive. And it will, I think, actually enhance your property, the neighbor's property.
And just to come back to that, the fact that the neighbor has screening on their side, the other side has a large maple tree that, if you look underneath, grass doesn't grow that well. You have the issue with light and that sort of thing. So to create that type of thing, they would be low shrubs that wouldn't receive the lighting. I'm not opposed to something like that, but it doesn't block the garage, and as just like the buffer that you're talking about, it only goes up to like the walkway. It doesn't go beyond the garage. There's no buffer of landscaping between my house
Okay, look,
and the. I know, but
we're not going to be able to sit here and plant every bush for you. But what I'm suggesting a range of alternatives, and actually I'm trying to suggest one possible way to work this out. But I think you need to go think about it. Do a little research in terms of the building department, and then we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
We have to make a motion?
So let's see. Is there a motion to adjourn item number? And I'm just giving the item number 2 to our September 10th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Recusals? Okay. So item 2 is adjourned. Item number 6, Leonard Greenberg, 3 Scenic Drive.
If I can, I'm just a family friend contractor, just want to explain the questions and stuff.
Sure, yeah, no, and so, so if each of you would just identify yourself.
Sure. I'm Leonard Greenberg, the trustee of the trust that owns 3 Scenic Drive.
Okay.
Brian Apollonio, just contractor.
Do each swear or affirm the testimony provided tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so you want to just let us know what the project is here.
So we have a proposed rear porch that was constructed in 1975. And it needs some repairs. So upon contacting the building department, we found out that there was nothing on record. So we're looking to make the porch legal. It's a corner lot. The front of the house property line is roughly 151 feet. The rear property line is roughly a third of that. So the left side, which is the west side of the house, comes across the corner of the rear of the house. So we're about 16 feet off. We need 20 feet by variance, so we're asking that you grant a 5-foot variance for the existing porch to be legal.
Okay, so looks, as I'm looking at your plan, and for the porch, so it would be the back left-hand corner.
Yes.
That's the place where it's 16 feet from the.
Yeah. We asked for 15 feet off the property line, so a 5-foot variance, but I actually believe it to be about 17 feet off the property line. But again, we don't have an exact line going across the neighbor's lawn, so just to be safe.
Okay, so the application is for 15 feet?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, all right. Christine, any questions?
No questions.
Paul?
Yeah, just so I understand, are you repairing it or replacing it?
Repairing it. So we're gonna replace screens, things like that.
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
All right.
No questions.
Okay, so the footprint doesn't change?
Not at all, no.
Okay. Tony?
No questions.
Carmen?
No questions.
Phyllis?
No question.
All right, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the application at 3 Scenic Drive? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4, Peter Zulli and Lynn Phillips, 60 Boulevard Knolls.
Good evening, I'm Pete Zoll.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you provide tonight is true and complete to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, so you want to tell us what brings you here?
Well, I'd like to put a shed in my backyard.
Okay.
There's a pre-existing 10 by 10 concrete slab that's been there, since I bought the property. And I would like to put the shed on top of that to hide it.
To hide the concrete?
Right.
Okay.
It seems like a perfect spot for it. The problem is it's 6 feet away from the fence, the neighbors. And the zoning is 10 foot. So I'm asking for a 4-foot variance. The shed is brand new. It matches the house in color and shingles and everything. It's behind the house, and I live on a dead-end street. So the only people that are really seeing it are the people that live on my street. My next-door neighbor wrote a letter saying that they have no problem with the shed going there. And the people behind me, they have a high fence in the back, so they can't even see my backyard. So.
Okay. All right, Christine, any questions?
No questions.
Paul?
I'm sorry, what's the size of the shed?
It's 12 by 16.
And there is a concrete pad there?
Yes.
Okay, I saw a lot of crushed stone. Is that the same?
I
That's the
just
area?
put that there.
Okay, and where's the slab? Is that under the existing shed or?
It's underneath the stone.
Oh, okay. All right, no, nothing else.
Okay, Art?
No, just a little confused on that one, but okay, no, I'm good.
I just put the crushed stone there to make it nicer, the shed's gonna be a little bit bigger than the 10 by 10 slab.
Oh, so you're
So I
gonna go,
put crushed stone there to make the pad.
you're gonna be beyond the concrete pad then?
Yes.
Slightly?
Yes.
I think that
But
was.
towards the back.
Question, okay.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's also not a bad idea for drainage.
No, good.
Tony?
I have no questions.
Carmen?
What? Will that mean it's a second shed? Isn't there a shed on the property?
There is a plastic 5 by 7 shed behind that slab.
So what are you gonna do with that?
It's staying.
Now, is it far enough away from the property line?
Yes, because as it's back farther than where I'm proposing to put this shed, and as the property line goes back, it gets wider. So that's more than 6 feet.
Okay.
All right, okay.
And so you're using that shed right now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't have a garage, so that's
Yeah.
the main purpose of getting this shed.
Okay.
Phyllis?
I have no questions.
Okay. If there are no other questions from the board, is anyone in the audience wishes to address the application at 60 Boulevard Knolls? All right, seeing none, is there a motion to close the public?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, recusals? Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Okay, that ends the public hearing phase. I'm assuming we'll go directly into the deliberations?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Item number 1.
We have people.
Oh, okay. Oh, so we'll do 4 first. Okay.
Jim?
Yeah.
Question, are these folks waiting for the adjournment?
We don't want to be rude.
No. No. You're having that good a time, feel free to stay.
No.
It's not a problem. We have to stay.
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
Okay. Unlike the people that are watching this on television, they just turn it off.
Watching it. Right. Barbara's watching it. Take care.
Yeah. Okay, everybody, you can change the channel. Okay. Okay. Item number 4 is Peter Zula and Lynn Phillips, 60 Boulevard Knolls. This is for a variance to allow the construction of a shed to be located 6 feet from the side lot line where 10 feet is required. It's a type 2 action, so there's no environmental determinations that need to be made. Let's see, I would move that the board adopt as findings as follows. Whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created. The board finds that locating the shed on an existing pad will not change the character of the neighborhood. The board further notes that the nearest neighbor has indicated that he has no problems with this. 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant could be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue. The board finds that in theory the applicant could locate the shed in other parts of the yard, but we also find that locating it near the existing driveway is entirely reasonable, and that the distance from the side lot line is not an issue. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, the board finds that this is a fairly minor change. 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental concerns. The board finds that there have been existing sheds on this property and have not caused any adverse effect or impact. And finally, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. The board finds that it's self-created in the sense that he's seeking to locate a new shed, but that this does not prohibit the granting of a variance. So I move that these be adopted as findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Christine, do you want to do the motion on this?
I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 4. This decision is based on a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts the findings as set forth by the chair. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve the variance in item number 4 has been made and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thanks.
Good night.
Have a nice night.
Or did you just, were you the second?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, so item number 1, Robert Ryan, 16 Peckham Road. This is a variance to allow an addition to an existing porch to be 16 feet 3 inches from the side yard lot line where 20 feet is required. Again, this is a type 2 action, so there's no environmental issue. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I move that the board adopt as findings the following. 1, whether there'll be an undesirable change created. The board finds that the new porch will extend the existing porch by a relatively small amount. And as a result, this new slightly larger porch will not change the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to nearby properties. 2, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method. The board finds that the benefit sought, namely to make the entrance into the existing porch easier by adding a landing between the door and the steps, could not be achieved in any other way. The porch simply has to be modified. 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial. The board finds that this is not a substantial variance. It changes the existing configuration by only, I believe it's less than 4 feet.
3 feet, 9 inches.
3 feet, 9 inches. Thank you. Okay. And that given the location next to the driveway, this really has very little impact on the neighbors or the existing situation. 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical and environmental conditions, the board finds that it will not. It is a minor change to the existing conditions. And 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created. It's self-created in the sense that the applicant chooses to change the existing porch. It's not self-created in the sense that the applicant has little choice about how the existing porch is going to be reconfigured to achieve the benefit that he is seeking. So move the findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Recusals?
One.
One recusal. That is correct.
One recusal?
Yeah. Okay. Paul. Okay, so Art, do you want to make the motion on this one?
Sure. Borrow his papers here. Sorry. What number is this? This is number 2?
Number 1.
1. I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 1. This decision is based on our review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts the findings as set forth in the chair. Were no amendments, right? No amendments.
Forth by the chair.
What?
Set forth.
Set forth by the chair.
By the chair.
Yeah. Right.
Said that. Didn't I say that?
You said of the chair.
Oh, whatever. Okay, by the chair. And there were no conditions.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the variance in item number 1. There's no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And there was one recusal. Okay. All right, item number 4. 3. Oh, boy.
Well, we're all mixed up.
I was going to say, good thing there are only 4 items here. Okay. All right.
Good thing there's only one person watching. That's my wife.
Okay. Leonard Greenberg, 3 Scenic Drive. This is a variance to allow the construction, or actually for the renovation of a porch to be located 15 feet from the side lot line where 20 feet is required. Again, this is a type 2 action, and I move that we adopt as findings the following. One, the board finds that there will be no undesirable change to be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. We note that the renovated porch will have exactly the same footprint as the older one, and that the old porch had existed since 1964 without producing any adverse effects. 2, the board finds that the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by any other method. The existing porch is in need of repair, and this has to be done in the location where it currently exists. 3, whether the requested area variance is substantial, the board finds that the point of maximum encroachment on the side yard setback is 1 corner of the existing porch. In any case, the maximum variance is going to be 5 feet, which is relatively small given the area. The board finds that the proposed variance will have no adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The board notes that it simply extends an existing structure. And 5, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, the board finds that the difficulty is not self-created in the sense that it's an existing structure that is in need of repair. So move the findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Paul, do you want to do this?
Sure. I move that the board approve the request for an area variance set forth in item number 3. This decision is based upon a review of the application, testimony of the applicant, testimony offered in the public hearing, and results of site visits by board members. In approving this variance, the board adopts the findings set forth by the chair.
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve the variance in item number 3 has been made and seconded. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Recusals? Okay, the variance is granted. Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. If there's any other business before us, if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.